Yo, so this right here is something you should be very, very excited about. Welcome back to the channel, y'all. Today we're talking about this right here. This is Adox Color Mission 200, and this is truly one of the newest films out there. It might actually be the newest color film if you talk about it technically, because, for example, Kodak Gold 200 medium format, that emulsion already exists theoretically. I don't think they've made any changes there. And when you talk about the Cinestill offerings, we know that that's related to Vision 3 somehow as well. So those things necessarily aren't like entirely brand new, but this has never really existed before. Adox Color Mission 200 is actually a batch of film that was created a few years ago by the Adox company. Their manufacturing partner went bankrupt and it kind of halted the entire development process that they had going on for this film. So instead, now they're actually releasing that original batch of film that was created and they're cutting it into 35 millimeter format. And the proceeds from all of that is going to go into actually benefiting the future production of this and also the research and development that goes into creating a brand new color film. So they're using all that money, and theoretically the future batch of Color Mission will probably have its own unique qualities and characteristics because it's not going to be exactly this. This was created years ago and was deep frozen to keep it in supreme quality. The future version of this will be something theoretically completely of its own, even though it's going to be related to what was done here back in the day. So that's exciting because that means brand new film is actually being created. Obviously there's all these other things going on with other manufacturers, and those things are amazing. This is especially amazing because, again, this film is going to be brand new. It's a new emulsion that's going to be created in a factory working with a manufacturing partner. So that's fantastic. And if we help scale this, who knows what comes after that? We got to support this. So let's actually talk about the film. I think the most interesting to talk about this film is the actual look that you get with it. It's a very warm film. I think this is very, very well suited for summertime shooting and good weather. When I say good weather, I mean when you have kind of a partly cloudy sky and the sun's coming in and out, or it's a just completely sunny day altogether. This captures that warmth very nicely. And there's like subtle hints of magenta in these images as well. It's something that was very evident right off the top. If you look at the sample images on their website, I think it's evident there. And in my own personal images, I think it was very evident as well. So this is a fantastic option for those warm summer activities. It is ISO 200, which means, it's a bit less sensitive than other higher ISO films. And so you really want there to be a good kind of lighting situation because this film's definitely not particularly designed for low light. You can do whatever you want with it, of course, but I think you're going to get the best performance out of its characteristics in good light. In terms of the look, I think there's another thing you definitely need to talk about here, and that's the grain. This film isn't grainy per se. I don't think there's anything very abrupt or aggressive about the grain, but there is a really beautiful grain presence. This isn't kind of, let's say professional grade. If you define professional as being super, super low grain. Here you've got this nice kind of, slightly soft, definitely present and visible grain. And I think, for a lot of us who shoot film, that's part of what we love is that natural grain look that shows up on your images. I think it adds a lot of character to the images, and it's a very welcome addition, especially for lower ISO films, which typically have a lot less grain than its higher ISO counterparts. So for me, that's a huge plus. Some of you may not like that. Another really interesting thing that I've found about this film is that the way it produces colors is very favorable to darker skin. Look at these images right here. I just love how much color you get out of my friend's darker skin. Sometimes a lot of these tones, especially when I shoot with portrait, for example, I feel like the browns don't pop. The browns kind of lack this like life to them, Obviously they look fine and they're very usable and everybody uses Portrait 400 for all kinds of stuff. But I find that Portrait 400 sometimes lacks a little bit of kind of life, some of that blood, that's under the skin. And this film, I think, captures that very, very well. We look at the scans here and we see that beautiful color gradient across my man's face right there. So I fully support that. I doubt that was part of the production process and design when this was being created many years ago, but it's a beautiful kind of aspect of this film. And there's a few films out there that do this very well. I always talk about Fuji 400, for example, 400H specifically. So glad to see that there's film options out there that I think are better suited for people with darker skin. So I went on a photo walk this past weekend with a bunch of homies here in London. There's a group called Analog Meetups that goes out, gets a lot of film photographers together, and we journey around London looking at interesting places and, of course, shooting a whole lot of film. So I went on a walk with them and I captured some images on this film. Let's go ahead and take a look.
I'm testing out the Adox Color film.
Oh, the
Mission?
missions.
Yeah. He's working on boats over there. It looks pretty cool. This is a rangefinder, focus-free.
Focus-free, but you have aperture control from 6.3.
How do you pronounce this?
I have no idea.
Nikayo?
Nikayo, something like that.
This honestly looks like a toy,
I know, right? But it has lead in it.
And what is this? Oh, this doesn't do anything.
No, it does.
Oh, it does?
Auto wind?
Ah.
Yeah, auto wind, focus-free, basically.
Auto wind and focus-free.
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck?
I put some Portrait 800 in it, so it should be,
Portrait 400?
800.
800.
Yeah.
Damn, you really, that costs more than the camera.
Exactly. That's the title of the new video, by the way.
What the hell?
So of course we got in the darkroom to see exactly how this film will perform in that environment as opposed to digital scans. So here we got the two prints I was referring to. Here's a print of my man that you saw earlier, and then here's a print of that boat maker that we saw during the photo walk. So let's actually zoom in here to the print of my friend for a second. Let me just zoom. There we go. So looking at this print, what I really love about how this film renders some colors is you see this area right here on his face. Just look at how saturated that is, how kind of full of life that is, let's say. You can really see the reds and the magentas and the hints of orange in the skin. And I find that sometimes, for example, with Portrait 400, that becomes a little more muted and there's more green in there. This print is slightly more magenta overall than I would have liked it, but it's just a hint. But I still really love how his skin looks here. And I think this film really does justice. And you see the warmth in the background and the trees and the greenery. It's got this subtle warmth to it. So that's kind of how this film likes to behave. Definitely prefers warm and hints of magenta in the look. All right, let's go ahead and look at this other image now. And let's zoom out a little bit right here. So this is the photo that I mentioned of the photo walk. And in this boat maker's room, you see inside there's a lot of that kind of interior lighting. And this stuff looks really beautiful and warm in the background. And then in the foreground here, this is daylight. This is the front of the boat, the front of the garage, and that's where you would see the daylight hitting this. And in this image, it still has just a hint of warmth as well. So again, love how this looks. I think the colors are nice and vibrant. They've got some life to them, but in general, the scene leans a bit more to the warm side. And I just really love this image. I had a really tight lens in it. It was 50 millimeters, and that's a bit tight for me. For what I would have wanted to do here. If I had a 35, I probably could have gotten a lot more of the room while still having a similar composition, but being less kind of constrained. So who knows, next time. But still love how both of these images came out. Let's zoom out here one more time so you can see them together. And yeah, these look pretty fly. I'm really loving how this film prints. It's got just a really cool look. So I think, where does that leave us? I think everyone should go out and support this, strictly on the basis of the actual manufacturing and development that's going to be happening based off of the proceeds of this film. Adox has given us their commitment that they're going to take that money and put it to fantastic use in creating this new emulsion in the future, but also, maybe some others. We'll see what happens. From a film photographer's point of view, this is exactly what you want to be seeing. This means that film is definitely alive and thriving and has a potentially bright future ahead of it. And then just from a regular photography point of view, I like the look of this film. I think everyone should shoot it, and I think it'll give you something that you'll be pretty happy with. The colors are nice and vibrant. Like I already said multiple times, it's nice and warm. And there's that beautiful grain in there that reminds everybody that you're shooting film. So if you see this in the store, definitely cop it. It was hard to find initially because there was this mad rush to buy it. But now I think stocks are being replenished from that initial master roll. They didn't release it all at once. They're kind of doing it in waves. So you'll see this film pop up more and more in different retailers. So go online, go on Adox website, try to figure out where this film's available, and give it a shot. All right, y'all, that's what we got for today. If you enjoyed the video, of course, go ahead and like the video down below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. All right, y'all, to the next one. I'm out.